Tips to enable us to save. Tips to enable us to save. 1. Keep track of your incomes. Keep track of your incomes. If I know my source of income is from the monthly salary, that means that's my source of income, and so I have to keep track of it. Do I get my salary every month? Does it come on time? Yes. How much comes? This much. And so I have to know the rate of my cash inflows. What comes into your wallet? These are your inflows, the cash inflows. And so these give you a picture of your worth, and these help you to plan. Keep track of your incomes. Next, having kept track of your incomes, keep track of your expenses. If you find it difficult to save regularly, try to record and keep track of your monthly expenditure. This will offer you a clear picture of where you spend your monies. You can then identify the things that are important and aim at saving more by avoiding those purchases. Something brief about this is when you have your expenses outlined, for example, January is coming to an end. If I sat down and noted, maybe if every amount I was spending, I was noting it down in a journal, that would help me at the end of the month to find out how much I spent and upon which item. And you'll be shocked to realize that some things you would actually do without, but still life would go on. But because some things we buy on impulse, you find yourself accumulating things in your room, things that you'll even never need, and you can even live without them. And so if you keep track of your expenses, this will help you to keep track of your budget and have something to save. The other tip is drafting a budget for your savings and stick to it. In other words, develop commitment, however painful it might be. Commitment is one thing, but being committed is another thing. And so if you have a budget that says I earn 1,000, I should be able to spend 700 and save 300 shillings. Let me stick to that. Whatever comes my way, I should have that financial discipline, that level of financial discipline. A budget simply has your incomes and your expenses. At the end of it all, you balance. Whichever side is bigger than the other will give you a picture of how you are faring financially. And so draft a budget for your savings and stick to it. The other tip is invest in viable projects once opportunities arise. Let us not fear to invest our monies. We have fear, and so if we are so fearful, probably the higher the risk. This is an economic statement. The higher the risk, the higher the return. This is where people who are good at betting or are so into the betting thing, the stake is always high whenever they think they want to get a higher level of return, although betting is something I wouldn't encourage you to go for. But invest once you have your cash saving, invest it in any viable project. It can be poultry, it can be farming, it can be any other thing that can give you money at the end of the day. Invest it. That's another tip to enable you to save. And so let's look at briefly principles to guide you on saving, or principles to guide me on saving. Number 1, I want to reiterate what I mentioned earlier. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. In other words, if I know at the end of the month I get 1,000 shillings, then I use 700 in expenses. That means I'll have my 300 shillings immediately deducted from my income. Then let the 700 cater for the expenses. The other principle is never spend your money before you have it. Never spend your money before you have it. Money is an exciting thing. Money is money by definition, because even before I get this money, I've already planned for it. Now, a temptation comes in. I'm expecting a salary by the end of this month, and so before even the salary comes in, I'm already promising someone some money. I'm already probably booking a trip somewhere in the month of Feb. I'm already, placing maybe bets on particular events in the country. all these things. And so I'm already spending before I even have this money. The other bit is our social sphere, where we have weddings, introductions, or other fundraising events. And so on such events, people tend to pledge what they would give in. I want to give you caution. Always have financial discipline across all spheres, including our social bits. If my budget has a budget of generosity, these are details of budgeting, but if in my section of the budget I have generosity will include things of giving, maybe for charity, supporting social events like weddings or introductions. That means I'll have some money saved for that particular item, generosity. And so if I happen to go to a fundraising event, and these fundraising events have invited people from across different spheres, earning different sources of income, let me stick to my budget. We've gone to events and people have pledged money out of excitement because someone has mentioned a particular figure. And I think I also should mention that particular figure or something higher in the names of maintaining status. But remember, at the end of it all, you are going to be financially stressed because your budget does not support that amount of giving. And so if I know my budget, my incomes and my expenses, then I'm going to be able to determine how much I can put aside for generosity in a particular month. If it's going to be January, I'm going to spend 50,000 to budget for 50,000 maybe in generosity. That means if I find someone lacking food, I'll get money for them for food from that particular budget or envelope. If I find someone in need of medical, I'll get it from that very envelope. If I find someone short of scholastic items, I'll get it from that very envelope of generosity. Now, if I get to a fundraising event, I'm pledging based on my envelope. I'm going to pledge a 15,000. Why? Because my budget has 50, and of the 50, I spent on medical, I spent on some charity, I spent on something, some other thing. And so let that 15 be enough for generosity or for the wedding. If my 15 is consumed and my budget of generosity is done, I'll have nothing to give. And I should have that level of financial discipline to stick to my budget and say, I'm run short of funds until the next month when the next budget flows in. Why we have all these stresses? It's because we pledge beyond our budget. We pledge beyond what our budget can handle. And so that is a level of financial discipline I want to invite all of us to appreciate and develop. The other bit or principle is, this is a quote from Martin Luther. He made the statement that goes, you do not have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. A staircase is a set of stairs, but if someone is maybe at the top of a building and it's dark and they're telling you to follow a particular direction or a particular route that has stairs, you do not have to have a glimpse of a full staircase, know where you're going to pass or where I'm going to pass is like this and this, but let me take the first step to getting to the top of the building. And so this is what Martin Luther gives in a way. So I borrowed this statement to help us, to encourage us to go onto the saving journey. You do not have to see the whole staircase, but just take the first step. And so saving is painful in its sense. Why? Because you have the money, but you do not use it. That's painful. You have the money, but you do not use it. And so I'm going to conclude, but before I conclude, I want to mention just a few places for us to save our monies. Of course, banks have come now in place to help us save, but I want to encourage us to save monies in those banks that give us interest at the end of a particular month, because saving money and this money is not accumulating anyhow. I rather keep it somewhere, but still there's a risk of it getting lost. But the banks can help us keep our money safe. Some people have people they trust who are not in their vicinity. When they get their money, they send it to different people who can keep that money for them. And then the other people save money in circles. There are circles, and so these are saving associations, cooperative corporations. People save monies probably at the end of the month, and they lend it out in terms of loans. These loans accumulate interest. By the end of the year, these people are sharing dividends, okay, or profits on the loans given out. Excuse me. And so that is a way of saving. There are different groups. Some people will have cash rounds, they'll have money saved, they give it to some person. Then every month someone saves money, every month someone is given money, it's a cash round. And so there are very different areas through which we can save money. But the best ways of us saving our monies is by investing them. If we can acquire assets are some things that appreciate in value. In other words, their value keeps on increasing. If I sold my money and I bought a piece of land today at about 1M, probably an acre, 1M, I can have this land bare, maybe just keeping it by farming on it. But when I'm looking forward to selling it at a later date when it has accumulated in value, and so I've saved my 1 million. By the time I sell that land, it's probably 10 million worth, and so my saving would have accumulated such amount of money. And so, as I conclude, I want to pray that we borrow a leaf from the ants. Saving is a hard thing, but let's take the first step. It's very hard, and I want to give you this. I got it from one of the seminars we had from one of the financial conferences. One pastor said, he was a treasurer of the ECD. He made a statement and said, it's a sin to even spend what you've not earned. It's a sin to spend what you've not earned. The Bible tells us that from our sweat we shall get what to eat. And so if I've not worked, why should I eat? Where do I get something to eat that I've not worked for? That means I've stolen. And so if you don't earn much and you can barely pay your bills, the idea of saving money might seem laughable. When you are only left with a few shillings at the end of the month, then why try to save? Oftentimes we look at how much I get at a particular end of the month. And probably I say, I'm earning 1,000. If I begin earning 10,000, then I will start saving. That's a wrong statement, or that's a wrong perception. Start saving from the 1,000 that you earn. And so it might seem laughable because everyone must start somewhere. That 1,000 shillings that you earn every month is your point of starting to save. And if you work at it, your financial situation is likely to improve over time. This is commitment now. If you work at it, your financial situation is likely to improve over time. Saving money is worth the effort. It gives you a peace of mind. It gives you options. And the more you save, the easier it becomes to accumulate additional savings. And so these are some of the things that we saw earlier in the importance of savings. And so saving is a hard thing, but let's learn to save and stick to it. I'll share just a brief on my experience. Saving is a hard thing, and even the adults face the saving bit as something hard. As you're saving for this, something comes up. Before you know it, you've used all your saving. Your money is on your account. Uh, as we were entering December, I knew December and January, these are close months. And when I earned my monthly salary of December, I made a point to spend only 30% of it so that I saved the 70%. So when the 70% was saved, actually it was November. When the November salary came, I spent 30%. I saved 70%, knowing that the December salary would come earlier for the sake of the festivities. And so I had two salaries for 1 month. And I knew the January salary comes at a later date, probably when school opens. And so I had it in mind that I'll not be getting any salary in the month of January until Feb. And so I had a reserve of November and December taking me through the 2 months of November and December, and then the month of January. And so that's a bit of how we can be able to go through our life experiences without having any financial stress. And so I want to encourage you that saving, everyone can save, and saving is easily done, and it's a discipline worth developing. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. May God guide you on your journey to save for a better future. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. That's a quote from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6. And may God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Learn with Brandon. This has been Isaac Obwala. This has been the introduction on saving. It's a financial lecture, sort of, but it's what we all need, because I read a statement from somewhere that says money is not everything, but everything needs money. And so let us learn and make use of what God has given us, because we are stewards of his graces. Thank you so much. May God bless you all.